Hey everyone, this is Six Path Weeb. Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is, what if Naruko was raised by the Akatsuki? Part 2. In the previous part, we explored how Naruko's fate took a completely different path under the influence of the Akatsuki. Now, the story continues as her strength, mindset, and loyalties begin to evolve in ways that could reshape the entire shinobi world. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's start. Naruko, the time has come for us to speak with the Kyuubi, said Itachi gently. Naruko blinked in surprise. But how? She asked. I mean, I can talk to the Kyuubi, but how will you come along? With my Mangekyo Sharingan, Itachi replied calmly. Naruko grew a little nervous as she remembered stories of powerful techniques. Seeing her expression, Itachi spoke reassuringly, do not worry. I will guide us safely. You will not be harmed. Naruko took a deep breath and nodded. All right. I trust you. They both sat down comfortably, closing their eyes. Itachi's eyes shifted, revealing the elegant pattern of his Sharingan. Naruko, just look into my eyes. And relax, he said softly. The last thing Naruko saw was the gentle red glow of Itachi's eyes before everything faded into darkness. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself in a familiar place, a long corridor with golden walls and shallow water beneath her feet. This time, however, she was not alone. Standing beside her was Itachi. So this is the space within the seal, Itachi observed quietly. In the distance, a deep rumbling sound echoed. Naruko stood up and smiled slightly. Come on, she said, walking forward. There's someone waiting. They moved together through the corridor until they reached a great gate. It stood tall and strong, covered with intricate designs, and at its center was a seal. Behind it, a pair of enormous glowing eyes appeared. Welcome back, Naruko, said the Kyuubi, its voice deep but steady. Naruko placed her hands on her hips. You could make this place a little nicer, she said playfully. It feels gloomy. The Kyuubi huffed. It is not easy decorating when one is sealed behind a gate. Well, Naruko replied with a grin, we'll work on that together someday. Itachi watched quietly, surprised by how naturally Naruko spoke. There was no fear in her voice, only confidence and a hint of kindness. The Kyuubi turned its gaze toward Itachi. Ah, you brought a guest. This is my teacher, Itachi, Naruko said. He's here to help. Itachi stepped forward respectfully. I came to understand your connection with Naruko, and to ask for your cooperation. The Kyuubi considered this. Cooperation, you say? Naruko crossed her arms. We can help each other, she added. If I grow stronger, I can use your power wisely. And in return, I'll make sure we both shine. The Kyuubi's expression softened, just a little. A partnership, then. Yes, Naruko said firmly. A fair one. After a moment, the Kyuubi nodded. Very well. As you grow stronger, I will share more of my power with you. Naruko smiled brightly. That's a deal. A warm energy filled the space, like a quiet agreement being sealed. Moments later, Naruko found herself back in her room, resting on her bed. She sat up slowly, feeling a new kind of energy within her, steady and bright. It worked, she whispered. Raising her hands, she carefully formed a sequence of hand signs. Though unfamiliar, they felt natural, as if she already understood them. With a calm voice, she said, fire wave technique. A gentle wave of warmth shimmered before her, glowing softly like a sunrise. Naruko smiled. This was only the beginning of something new, a journey of growth, trust, and friendship. She suddenly felt herself surrounded by an immense, glowing energy. When she looked down, she saw that it shimmered in warm shades of red, swirling gently around her like soft, flowing ribbons shaped like foxtails. They moved as if they were alive, yet they felt calm and comforting, like a protective hug. Kisame stepped forward, his eyes wide with curiosity. What in the world is that, Naruko? Naruko smiled softly, her bright eyes reflecting the glowing chakra. It's something the nine-tailed fox taught me, she said, her voice steady and proud. Kisame blinked, clearly surprised. The nine-tailed fox taught you? He muttered, still trying to understand. Naruko gave a small nod. Yes. She said that if I keep training and stay true to myself, she'll share more of her strength with me. Kisame crossed his arms, thinking. That's unexpected, he admitted. But there was a hint of respect in his voice now. Just then, Itachi returned, his calm presence filling the room. We're leaving soon, he said. There's a task in the land of waterfalls. Naruko's face lit up. I'm coming too, right? You'll travel with us, Itachi replied, but your focus will be training. Naruko paused for a moment, then smiled again. That's okay. I'll get stronger wherever I go. The journey began the next day. They walked along winding paths, through forests where sunlight danced between the leaves, and across quiet rivers that reflected the sky like mirrors. Along the way, Naruko practiced controlling the gentle, fox-like chakra that surrounded her. At first, it flickered and faded when she lost focus. But each day, she grew better. She learned to shape it into a soft shield that wrapped around her like a warm cloak. One evening, as they rested beneath a sky full of stars, Naruko sat quietly, eyes closed. Inside her mind, she found herself standing before the great fox spirit. The nine-tailed fox looked at her with wise, glowing eyes. You are learning, she said, her voice deep yet kind. Naruko nodded. I want to use this power to protect others. And to become someone I can be proud of. The fox's tail swayed gently. Power is not just strength, she replied. It is also patience, kindness, and understanding. You are beginning to see that. Naruko smiled. Will you keep helping me? I will, said the fox. As long as you remember who you are. When Naruko opened her eyes, the night felt peaceful. The soft red chakra shimmered around her once more, calmer than ever before. Kisame glanced over and raised an eyebrow. You've gotten better already. Naruko grinned. I'm just getting started. Itachi gave a small, approving nod. Good. Keep going. And under the quiet, starlit sky, Naruko continued her training, growing not only stronger, but kinder and wiser with every step she took on her journey. 9 months later. They were sitting together in a cozy little restaurant in the water country, celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Naruko's journey with her mentors. As she quietly enjoyed her meal, Naruko found herself thinking about everything that had happened over the past year. The mission her teachers, Itachi and Kisame, had taken to the waterfall country had gone smoothly, and soon after, they had traveled to the earth country for another assignment. The months that followed were filled with travel and learning. They crossed rivers, climbed hills, and visited places Naruko had never imagined she would see. Eventually, their journey brought them to the peaceful shores of the water country. During that time, Naruko trained every day with great determination. She practiced her taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu with focus and care. The nine-tailed fox, who lived within her, had also begun to guide her in a surprising way. Whenever Naruko showed enough progress, the fox would teach her a new technique. These lessons came slowly, every few weeks, but each one felt special and meaningful. Naruko realized that learning everything would take years, but for the first time, she didn't mind. She enjoyed the journey. As the days passed, she also grew closer to her teachers, especially Itachi. They didn't just guide her, they listened to her, supported her, and treated her with kindness. On her birthday, they surprised her in a way she would never forget. They gave her a day to rest, took her out for a warm meal, and even gave her a gift. At first, Naruko had been puzzled. It was a book about the human body. But Itachi explained gently that understanding how the body worked could help her become more precise and thoughtful in her training. Naruko took his words to heart and studied the book carefully. That same day, the nine-tailed fox gave her a gift too, a special summoning contract with foxes. When Naruko signed it, she noticed something remarkable. Her name was the very first on the list. It made her feel unique, as though she had discovered something truly her own. She thanked everyone sincerely. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Over the months, Naruko learned many techniques. She became skilled with fire and earth styles and began exploring water techniques as well. She practiced careful control of her energy, learning to use only what she needed and even conceal it when necessary. Her focus and discipline grew stronger each day. But it wasn't just her skills that changed. Naruko herself had changed. She was no longer the loud, impulsive child she once was. Now she was thoughtful, calm, and observant. She still had a bright spirit, but she chose carefully when to show it. She learned to understand her feelings and keep them balanced. Physically, she had grown taller and stronger. Her stamina amazed even her teachers, and her confidence quietly shone through everything she did. After finishing their meal, Naruko insisted on paying, saying she wanted to give something back, even if it was small. Her teachers exchanged amused smiles but allowed it. As they walked back to their hotel, Naruko continued thanking them. "It's enough, Naruko," Itachi said gently with a small smile. "Yes, we might start believing we've done something extraordinary," Kisame added playfully. Naruko laughed softly. "I know. But you both mean a lot to me. You're the closest thing I've ever had to a family." Itachi's expression softened. "Naruko. Your family was very special." Naruko stopped walking. "You know about them?" "A little," Itachi replied. "Not everything, but enough to tell you something important." Naruko looked at him with hopeful eyes. "Your father," Itachi said calmly, "was the fourth Hokage." Naruko blinked in surprise, her thoughts swirling. "My father was the Hokage?" she whispered. Itachi nodded. "He was known for his kindness and courage. If he made a difficult choice, it would have been to protect others." Naruko stood quietly, trying to understand. Deep inside, the nine-tailed fox spoke to her in a calm, steady voice, promising that one day, she would learn even more. Naruko took a deep breath. "So, there's still a lot I don't know," she said. "Yes," Itachi replied. "But you'll discover it, step by step." Kisame nodded. "And you won't have to do it alone." Naruko smiled softly. That thought alone made her feel stronger. As they reached the hotel, Itachi gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let's rest. Tomorrow is another day." Naruko nodded. That night, as she lay in bed, her thoughts drifted between the past and the future. She felt a mix of curiosity and determination, but also something new. Hope. And with that warm feeling in her heart, Naruko finally closed her eyes and fell into a peaceful sleep, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. In front of Kyubi's cage. "You know, you were right," said Naruko Uzumaki softly. "Back in the village, I wouldn't have believed you. Now, it just makes me feel stronger. It gives me something to grow from." "That's good," rumbled the great fox, Kurama, his voice echoing through the quiet space. "But strength isn't only about feelings like anger. You need balance too." Naruko nodded. "You're right. I'll try." Then her eyes brightened. "Wait, you said you had a memory to show me." "Yes," said Kurama gently, as a warm glow of chakra surrounded her. Kurama's memory. Naruko found herself high above a forest under a starry sky. In the distance, a soft orange light flickered like a lantern. Suddenly, she saw a giant toad appear, steady and calm. As it drew closer, she noticed a figure standing atop it. "That must be Gamabunta," she whispered. The scene shifted. She felt herself moving closer, as though carried by the wind. In the man's arms was a tiny baby. Naruko's heart fluttered. "That's me." The man's expression was kind but serious. His voice was gentle. "I'm sorry to place this responsibility on you, my daughter," he said. "But I believe in you. I know you will grow into someone kind and strong, someone who protects others and brings light wherever she goes." Naruko felt warmth surround her as the scene faded into darkness. Back outside the cage. "That's all I remember," Kurama said quietly. "It's the last moment of my freedom. And the moment your journey began." Naruko stood still, taking it all in. Her hands rested over her heart. "Do you know anything about my mother?" she asked. Kurama shook his head. "No. But there are many wise people in the world. If you seek gently and patiently, you may find your answers." Naruko smiled a little. "Then someday, I will. I'll learn about my family, and make them proud." For now, she knew she had more to discover. A journey of learning. For the next 2.5 years, Naruko traveled far from Konohagakure, exploring the world and learning from different mentors. With Itachi Uchiha, she found a calm and thoughtful guide, someone who listened carefully and spoke kindly. She often called him Itachi Oni-chan in private, like a big brother. From Kisame Hoshigaki, she learned about water techniques, not just how to use them, but how to respect their flow and patience. Then came Reiko, a teacher from the clouds, who showed her how to work with lightning, how energy could be focused, controlled, and shaped into something helpful and bright. After that, Mia, a quiet and wise teacher, taught Naruko about plants and nature. She learned how vines could grow, protect, and support life. Naruko especially loved this training, as it reminded her that strength could also be gentle. Because of Kurama's presence within her, Naruko had a special resilience. She learned how to care for her body and stay strong, even when facing challenges. More importantly, she made friends. Every teacher became someone she trusted, someone who believed in her. She also shared her story, about her childhood, her dreams, and her wish to become someone who brings people together. A new mission. One day, Kisame returned with a calm but serious expression. "We have a mission," he said. Naruko stood up, ready. "Where are we going?" "To the Hidden Stone Village," he replied. Naruko looked ahead with determination. This would be her first mission with her new companions, not as someone seeking strength alone, but as someone learning to use it wisely. She took a deep breath and smiled. Her journey was just beginning. "We have a mission in the Hidden Stone Village," said Kisame. "Then we leave immediately," Itachi replied calmly. Naruko nodded, her bright eyes turning focused in an instant. She gathered her things quickly, her movements neat and practiced. Kisame estimated the journey would take 3 days, and without wasting any more time, they set off together. The first day passed quietly. The sound of their footsteps blended with the rustling of leaves and distant birdsong. Itachi and Kisame spoke softly between themselves, their conversation too low for Naruko to hear clearly. Though curiosity bubbled inside her, this was her first mission. After all, she chose to remain silent. She trusted that Itachi would explain everything when the time was right. Patience was something Naruko had worked very hard to learn. She had grown more thoughtful over time, becoming calmer and more observant, thanks to Itachi and Kisame. Still, patience was different. Sitting still for long stretches, waiting and watching without doing anything, was not easy for her. Her energy often wanted to burst forward like a rushing river. Her teachers had all been very different. Reiko, for example, believed in acting quickly. "It's better to take the first step," he would often say. But even he reminded her to think before acting and to stay aware of her surroundings. From him, Naruko learned confidence, but also caution. Mia, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. She could wait quietly for hours, even days, without moving. At first, this had frustrated Naruko greatly. But Mia had her own gentle way of teaching. Sometimes she would create small challenges that required Naruko to stay perfectly still or focus deeply, even during the most distracting moments. "It's your choice," Mia would say with a small smile. "You can learn control, or you can learn it the hard way." Though those lessons had been difficult, Naruko now appreciated them. She had grown stronger, not just in skill, but in self-discipline. As they traveled, Naruko thought about all she had learned. Each of her teachers had shaped her in a different way. Itachi had taught her to observe and understand. Kisame had shown her how to stay steady and dependable. Reiko had encouraged her bravery, while Mia had guided her toward patience. Together, those lessons were helping her discover her own path. Naruko didn't want to simply follow others, she wanted to grow into someone who could think for herself, make her own decisions, and protect what mattered to her in her own way. As the sun began to set on the first day, painting the sky in warm shades of gold and orange, Naruko felt a quiet sense of excitement. This journey wasn't just about completing a mission. It was about becoming who she was meant to be. And step by step, she was getting closer. Suddenly, Itachi Uchiha's calm voice brought Naruko Uzumaki out of her thoughts. "We're going to camp here for the night." "Night already?" Naruko wondered, glancing up at the dimming sky. Her mind worked in curious ways. When one thought became too heavy, she gently replaced it with another. A kind of mind kawarimi no jutsu, she thought with a soft, private smile. Dinner, like always, was quiet. The team preferred it that way, not out of fear, but out of habit and focus. The stillness of the evening felt peaceful rather than tense, and Naruko found comfort in the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of insects. Afterward, Itachi Uchiha spoke again, his tone steady. "Naruko, it's time you understood what this mission involves." Naruko turned her full attention to him. "We will enter the Hidden Stone Village quietly. Then, we will locate the Kutauji estate. Our goal is to meet them and assess their abilities." Naruko tilted her head slightly. "There's something special about them, isn't there?" Kisame Hoshigaki nodded. "They can shape the earth into figures, golems made of stone and clay." Naruko's eyes lit with curiosity rather than concern. "That sounds amazing." "It is rare," Itachi added. "Only a father and his child remain. We will approach carefully. Naruko, you will interact with the child while Kisame and I speak with the father." Naruko nodded. She understood, this wasn't about conflict. It was about learning, observing, and making wise decisions. That night, she lay beneath the stars, imagining how Earth could move and take shape. Would the golems be slow and steady? Or quick and clever? She wondered. Her mind drifted with possibilities, not strategies of harm, but ideas of understanding. 2 days later. They stood before the grand gates of the hidden stone village. The carved symbol gleamed softly in the sunlight. Naruko took a deep breath. Here we go. With quiet confidence, they entered. Itachi Uchiha guided them smoothly past the guards, and soon they found the Kataji residence. Inside the compound, Naruko paused, closing her eyes briefly. They're over there, she whispered. Training. Her heightened senses made it easy to locate them. Sure enough, a young boy was shaping earth nearby while his father rested under a tree. It's best we approach now, Itachi said gently. They stepped forward, making their presence known. The father stood, surprised but composed. Who are you? We've come to learn, Itachi replied calmly. And to understand your abilities. There was a moment of silence. Then the boy stepped forward, curiosity shining in his eyes. Naruko smiled warmly and gestured toward an open space. Would you like to practice together? The boy hesitated, then nodded. They both moved aside, giving each other room. Naruko began simply. She formed 2 shadow clones beside her, strong, steady, and glowing faintly with chakra. The boy's eyes widened. You didn't use hand signs. Naruko grinned. Lots of practice. Her clones moved forward, not to strike, but to test movement and coordination. The boy responded quickly, shaping 3 small clay figures from the ground. The golems rose, sturdy and solid. Naruko watched closely. So that's how they move. Her clones interacted with the golems, tapping and circling them. The golems weren't fast, but they were strong and dependable. Naruko stepped in, moving lightly and gracefully, guiding the golem's attention without force. She leapt upward just as the ground shifted beneath her, landing safely on a clay figure before hopping back down. Then she clapped her hands lightly. Let's try something different. She formed a gentle water technique, sending a soft wave across the ground. The water didn't crash, it flowed, wrapping around the clay figures and loosening them until they softly crumbled back into earth. The boy blinked, then smiled in amazement. Naruko returned the smile. Your technique is really impressive. The way you shape earth. It's like bringing it to life. The boy looked proud. I've been practicing every day. I can tell, she said sincerely. They continued practicing, exchanging techniques and ideas. Instead of trying to outdo each other, they learned from one another, earth and water, strength and flow. Nearby, Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki spoke with the boy's father, their conversation calm and thoughtful. As the sun began to set, Naruko sat down beside the boy, both of them a little tired but happy. That was fun, she said. The boy nodded. You're really strong. Naruko shook her head with a laugh. Not strong. Just always learning. She looked at the ground, then back at him. And you should keep learning too. Your ability is something special. The boy smiled, a quiet confidence growing within him. For Naruko, this mission hadn't been about proving strength. It had been about connection, understanding, and discovering the beauty in someone else's abilities. And as they prepared to leave, she felt certain of one thing. Sometimes, the greatest victories come not from battles, but from shared moments of growth. A solitary figure stood outside the wooden gates of Konoha. She was clad in almost all black. She wore black travel shoes and black pants with many pockets, along with a kunai holster strapped to her right leg. Her black jacket had one sleeve cut off at the elbow, revealing her left arm wrapped in neat bandages from shoulder to wrist. A soft black mask covered part of her face. Her dark blue eyes shimmered with a gentle violet tint, and her golden hair, touched with warm streaks of red, fell in soft, uneven layers around her face. If the wind brushed her hair aside, one might notice her slightly pointed ears and the faint orange-red tufts near their tips. Around her upper left arm, she wore her forehead protector, marked with the symbol of the hidden grass village. Naruko stood quietly, gazing at the gates. Never thought I would come back here again. Especially like this, she whispered to herself. 5 years had passed. The last time she had stood here, her back had been turned to the village. Now she faced it once more. My story begins again. Right there, she murmured, her voice soft but steady. For a moment, memories fluttered through her mind, lonely days, quiet nights, and moments when she had wished for a place to belong. But she gently shook her head, letting those thoughts drift away like leaves on a stream. This isn't about the past, she said, placing a hand over her heart. It's about what I can do now. Dash. Flashback. I'm going where? Naruko exclaimed, jumping to her feet in surprise. To Konoha, replied Itachi Uchiha calmly. Konoha? She repeated, blinking in disbelief. Yes. The Hidden Leaf Village. Naruko crossed her arms, letting out a long sigh. I know what Konoha is. I just didn't expect to go back. Itachi gave a small, knowing smile and handed her a scroll. She opened it and read quickly, her expression changing from confusion to curiosity. Well. This is interesting. She tapped her chin thoughtfully. Wouldn't it be easier to go after the exam? Fewer people around. It may seem that way, Itachi said, but during the exam, many visitors arrive. Blending in becomes simpler. Naruko nodded slowly. That makes sense. I'll just need a new identity. If you read further, Itachi added, you'll find the list of participants. Naruko unrolled the scroll more and scanned the names. Her eyes brightened slightly. The Grass Village. Only 2 participants, she said. That could work. She paused, her smile softening into something more thoughtful. All right, she said at last, tying the scroll. I'll go. Itachi's voice grew gentler. Take care, Naruko. She smiled warmly. You too. As she turned to leave, he added quietly, returning home can be difficult. But it can also be a chance to grow. Naruko paused for a moment, then nodded before stepping forward. Dash. End flashback. Dash. Naruko took a deep breath and walked toward the gates. A guard stepped forward and raised a hand. Papers, please. She handed them over calmly. Not Sashi of the Grass, the guard read. Here for the Jounin exam? Yes, she replied politely. You're arriving a bit late, the guard noted. I was delayed. On a mission, Naruko answered simply. The guard nodded and continued checking. It says there should be 2 participants. Naruko lowered her gaze slightly, her voice soft. My partner couldn't make it. The guard paused, then nodded with understanding. I see. Well, everything looks fine. You may enter. Thank you, she said with a small, respectful bow. Dash. As Naruko walked through the gates, she looked around quietly. Konoha, she whispered. The village felt both familiar and new, like a story she once knew but was now reading again from a different page. She soon found a small hotel and settled into her room. After placing her belongings down, she sat on the bed and stretched her fingers thoughtfully. With a gentle focus, her fingernails extended slightly, forming delicate, claw-like shapes. She studied them with quiet curiosity. Still getting used to this, she murmured, flexing her hand. But it's part of me now. She let her hand relax, the claws returning to normal. Everything changes, she said softly, lying back on the bed. And maybe. That's not a bad thing. Naruko closed her eyes, letting the calm of the moment settle around her. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new friendships, and new discoveries. And this time, she would face them not as someone running from the past, but as Naruko, moving forward with hope. Naruko had been unwell for 3 days. A high fever kept her tossing and turning beneath her blankets, her dreams filled with strange, glowing light that flickered gently around her like tiny lanterns in the dark. Though the energy never harmed anyone, it seemed to dance and shimmer as if it had a will of its own. When she finally woke, everything felt different. She sat up slowly, blinking in surprise. She had grown taller, almost a whole foot, and her body felt stronger, as if she could run for miles without tiring. Her golden hair had softened in color, her ears seemed more sensitive to sound, and her bright eyes shimmered with a new clarity. Even the whisker-like marks on her cheeks had grown a little bolder, giving her a unique and spirited look. There was also a delicate marking on her arm, like a swirling pattern. When asked about it, Naruko simply smiled and said it was a farewell gift from an old friend. She didn't explain further, but she held that memory close. Despite these changes, Naruko was still herself, cheerful, determined, and kind. She did notice that she had become a little more protective of the things she cared about, especially her friends. She also needed less sleep now, waking after only a few hours feeling refreshed and ready for the day. Sometimes, she would discover new abilities without even trying. She could see clearly in the dark, and her senses seemed sharper than ever. It felt like she was growing and learning all the time, like a story still being written. 6 months had passed since those changes. Naruko sat quietly by her window one evening, gazing at the stars. That was a long time ago. She thought softly. After staying with me for so many years. She left. She placed a hand over her heart. There had once been a presence there, a wise, quiet voice that guided her. Though it was gone now, Naruko sometimes missed it dearly. I never thought I'd miss that fox, she whispered with a small smile. Shaking her head gently, she stood up. Time to rest. Tomorrow's a big day. Dash. The next morning, the Jounin exam participants gathered near Training Area 44. The tall trees of the Forest of Death stretched behind them, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. Naruko arrived early, looking around with curiosity. Many familiar faces were there, friends she had grown up with. Sasuke stood calmly, looking more mature but just as focused. Ino and Shikamaru were chatting nearby, their easy conversation showing how close they had become. Hinata stood with quiet confidence, her gentle smile brighter than before. Kiba laughed beside Akamaru, who wagged his tail happily, now much bigger than Naruko remembered. Kenten, Lee, and Shino stood together, each ready in their own way. Naruko felt a warm sense of pride. Everyone had grown, not just stronger, but kinder and wiser too. She stayed a little apart, listening and observing. The groups mostly kept to themselves, but there was no tension, just quiet determination. Soon, the examiner appeared in a swirl of leaves. "Welcome," said Kakashi with a relaxed smile. "This is the next stage of your journey." He explained the rules simply. Each participant would receive a scroll, and over the next 5 days, they would gather points through teamwork, strategy, and clever thinking inside the forest. At the end, they would meet at the tower in the center. Naruko accepted her scroll and held it carefully. This isn't just about strength, she thought. It's about growing, learning, and believing in yourself. When the time came, she stepped into the forest. Sunlight filtered through the tall trees, painting the ground in golden patterns. The air smelled fresh, and the sounds of nature surrounded her. Naruko moved lightly, her senses guiding her. Before long, she noticed a group of unfamiliar participants ahead. Instead of rushing in, she paused. "Let's think this through," she murmured. Using a clever clone technique, she sent a duplicate to greet them while she observed from a safe distance. The meeting turned into a friendly exchange, and after a bit of discussion, they agreed to trade information and part ways peacefully. Naruko smiled. "Working together is always better," she said softly. With renewed confidence, she continued deeper into the forest, ready to face whatever came next, not with fear, but with courage, kindness, and a bright, hopeful heart. Her story was still unfolding, and she was determined to make it a good one. Kiba was walking through a quiet clearing with Akamaru trotting happily at his side. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, and the air felt calm and peaceful. Suddenly, Akamaru paused, lifted his nose, and gave a soft, alert bark. "What is it, Akamaru?" Kiba asked, looking around curiously. Akamaru wagged his tail but kept his attention fixed ahead, as if he recognized something familiar. "That scent again, huh?" Kiba said, narrowing his eyes slightly. Then he called out, "Hey, whoever's there, you can come out." A soft chuckle came from the trees, and a figure stepped gently into the clearing. The person wore a simple outfit and a calm expression. "Hello, Kiba," she said. Kiba blinked in surprise. "Wait. How do you know my name?" The stranger tilted her head, her eyes warm but thoughtful. "You really don't recognize me?" Kiba stared harder. Something about her presence, her voice, even the way she stood, it all felt strangely familiar. "Think carefully," she said gently. Kiba's eyes widened. "No way. Could it be Naruto Uzumaki?" The girl smiled brightly. "Close. It's me, Naruko." For a moment, Kiba stood frozen. Then his face broke into a wide grin. "Naruko? You're back." Akamaru barked happily and ran toward her, circling her with excitement. Naruko knelt down and patted him, laughing softly. "I missed you too, Akamaru," she said. Kiba walked closer, still amazed. "You look different. But it really is you." Naruko nodded. "I've been traveling and learning new things. I wanted to grow stronger, not just in skill, but in understanding too." Kiba crossed his arms, smiling. "Yeah? Well, you definitely surprised us." Naruko stood up and looked around the clearing. "This place brings back memories. Training, laughing, chasing after dreams." Kiba chuckled. "You mean getting into trouble?" Naruko laughed. "That too." For a moment, The two friends simply stood there, enjoying the peaceful forest and the comfort of being reunited. "So," Kiba said, "are you staying this time?" Naruko thought for a moment before answering. "I'll be around for a while. There's still so much I want to do, and so many people I want to see." Kiba nodded. "Good. Everyone's going to be really happy." Naruko smiled warmly. "I hope so. I've learned something important on my journey." "What's that?" Kiba asked. She looked at him with bright, determined eyes. "No matter how far you go, the bonds you make with others always guide you back home." Kiba grinned. "Yeah. That sounds like you." Akamaru barked in agreement. Naruko laughed again. "Come on. Let's head back together." With that, the three friends walked out of the clearing side by side, their hearts light and full of hope, ready to share new stories and create even more happy memories. Ino was running lightly through the forest, her footsteps soft against the leaves. The sunlight filtered through the trees, painting golden patterns on the ground. As she slowed down, something caught her eye. Someone was resting against a tree. Ino crouched behind a bush and peeked closer. The grass ninja appeared to be asleep, completely still. A small, thoughtful smile appeared on her face. "Perfect," she whispered. "I'll use my mind-body switch jutsu and take the scroll." She formed the familiar hand seal. Shintenshin no Jutsu. In an instant, her awareness shifted. Her body gently slumped, while the other body stirred. Carefully, she retrieved the scroll and placed it into her pouch before returning to her own body. When Ino opened her eyes again, she checked her pouch and smiled. "Good. Now I just need to keep it safe for a few days. I should find Shika." Before she could finish, she felt her arm gently held in place. It wasn't painful, but firm enough to stop her from moving. "Easy, Ino-chan," came a calm voice behind her. Ino froze. Her heart skipped. "How do you know my name?" The voice chuckled softly. "It's been a while. I guess people don't recognize me anymore." Ino's eyes widened. The sleeping ninja vanished in a puff of smoke. "A clone?" she whispered. She slowly turned her head. "Naruto?" The girl behind her smiled faintly. "Close," she said. "It's Naruko now." Ino blinked in surprise. "Naruko?" Naruko's expression softened just a little. "Yeah. It's been some time." Ino quickly reached for her pouch, but it was empty. Naruko lifted the scroll lightly between her fingers. "Looking for this?" Ino sighed. "You tricked me." Naruko shrugged playfully. "I had to make it interesting." There was a brief pause, the forest quiet around them. "Don't worry," Naruko added, loosening her grip and stepping back. "I'm not here to hurt you." Ino rubbed her arm, relieved. "Then, why stop me?" Naruko looked up at the trees, thoughtful. "Because things are different now. I'm walking my own path, and I can't let anyone misunderstand what I'm doing." Ino studied her carefully. "You seem different." Naruko smiled, a little brighter this time. "Maybe. But I'm still me." Ino hesitated, then asked softly, "Will I see you again?" Naruko stepped back, already preparing to leave. "If our paths cross again, I'd like that." With a quick movement, she leapt up into the trees. Before disappearing completely, she glanced back. "And Ino-chan. Take care of yourself." Then she was gone. Several days later, the remaining participants gathered inside the tower. Ino stood among them, still thinking about the encounter. At the last moment, someone entered quietly. "Naruko." She walked up calmly and handed over her scroll. When asked, she revealed she had collected quite a few along the way. The examiner looked impressed. Soon, everyone assembled in a large room. A lively instructor appeared at the front. "Congratulations to all of you. You've done well to make it this far." Naruko stood quietly, observing the others. "The next round," the instructor continued, "will begin in 2 days. It will test your skill, focus, and determination, but remember, this is also a chance to grow." Naruko folded her arms, thinking. "A new challenge," she murmured to herself. "All right. I'm ready." Across the room, Ino noticed her and gave a small, uncertain smile. Naruko returned it. And for the first time in a long while, things didn't feel so distant anymore. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more. Until next time, stay tuned. Regards. Six Path Weeb.